Alright guys, you asked for part 3, here it is. My mother left my father for a stranger on the internet, part 3. If you want to find the other parts, you can find them in the description below, guys. Let's get right to it. 15 months later. I thought I'd give an update because a lot's happened since my first post over a year ago. The biggest thing is that my mom is in jail for fraud linked to her accounts. All because of her boyfriend, who's still missing to this day. So, after Clara's boyfriend ghosted her, taking everything that she had, she went into denial for a very long time. She kept posting him and acting as if he was somehow going to come back one day and marry her. She was now living in one of those crappy apartments downtown, unemployed and surviving on the help of her family, who's growing tired of her in the end. It was funny that they supported her when they knew that she was going to get alimony and assets from my dad. But as soon as she lost all that, they wanted to distance themselves from her. My family stayed very far away from both of her and her family, knowing that soon they would start crawling back, and sure enough, Clara tried to contact me, using different numbers, but I blocked her every time. This continued for a while before she showed up at my school, looking drunk out of her mind and causing a massive scene. I didn't want people to have something to talk about, so I agreed to come with her, but that was very shady of her. I was just glad that my sister did not see her because she would have been so upset. Though Miriam did not say anything, she got very scared when anyone mentioned her name, or when she saw anyone who remotely looked like her. I knew just seeing her was going to make her very sad. She took me to her apartment where she sat me down and told me her sob story. Maybe I was supposed to feel sorry for her, because now she was realizing that the man she was in love with was a scam artist. But I did not. It was her fault for being so naive and prioritizing him over us. Every ounce of respect I used to have for this woman was gone down the drain, and I did not think that it could come back. She told me that she realized he was playing her when officials came and started asking her questions about him. She also told me something that I simply did not know. What I knew about Richard was not even half of it. It appeared that his quote business was not real. He just scammed investments from local businesses. So, not only did he run away with her money, but also the money of others. She showed me the massive amounts of debt that she was in after he ran her credit cards through the roof, all into the negatives. I told her just file for fraud then, but she told me for some reason she could not do it. The police already sent a warrant for his arrest for both huge and petty crimes that he committed when he was staying in town. He has also been linked to similar scams in different areas for the past couple of years. They'd been so close to nailing him. When he realized that they were onto him, he decided to run away with the stuff, leaving her to deal with this spaghetti mess. I asked her what she was going to do now, and she said she was hoping she would not get charged as an accomplice. But the police were still doing investigations. Then she did something unexpected. Clara kneeled down for a moment. This vile woman that I was so used to seeing disappeared, and I saw the mother that I loved. With tears in her eyes, she apologized for all that she put us through and said that she's been fooled and blinded. She now understood how important we were to her. She should have never left us. She said that she wanted all that she lost back, me, Miriam, and father. She cried and said that she could not live without us and that she was a mess. So I asked her why did she not go back to her parents if she wanted family so much. She did cut us off when life was going well for her. Now those tears were supposed to make me feel sorry for what she did? She hurt my father terribly, and he was not the same man after. He had to give her his hard-earned cash that she did not deserve, and now that all of it was gone, she wanted to come back. I asked her if she thought time stopped for us and if we were still waiting for her to come back, because we were not. A lot's changed. We got used to living without her, and we're happy once more. There's nothing we needed from her. I told her good luck on the charges, but that I was not going to help her come back into Dad's life. Was she not the one parading on social media with her young boyfriend acting like she was in her 20s again? I told her she deserved all that hell that was soon to come to her, but to us, she was no one. No one. Then I left her house, even though she kept on begging me. I changed my number that very day so we would stop contacting. When I got home, I asked my sister if she asked or messaged her at any time at all, and if she started to text her, she should block her. Now that she's all alone, she dared to remember us even though she put us through so much hell. When my father came back from work that day, he showed me the paragraphs that she's been sending him, professing her love and saying she would be a better mother. I told Dad everything she told me when I saw her and told him that if he took her back, he would be inviting all sorts of demons into his life. But she did not rest. She contacted my father's side of the family and tried to get to them. They still all had her blocked. She became like an annoying fly that would flutter in the air and would not go away, and I wished that she would just go with Richard when he left. It would have been better never to see her again than to have her harass us every single second. As things were progressing, I seriously considered that we should get a restraining order against her, but Dad said no. It annoyed me so much that he still had a soft spot for her. I mean, I kind of get that. They've been married for nearly 2 decades before she pulled her little stunt, but still, I just wish he would destroy her as she's done him. He had all the resources to do so, but he was so soft when it came to her. It was a few days after Dad refused for us to use the restraining order file, and she went way too far this time. It was a Sunday evening. We have a tradition of having dinner at our favorite restaurant, then after, we would go back home. When we got back home, the door was strangely unlocked and the lights were flipped on. The first thing on my mind was a break-in. My father entered the house first and told us both to wait outside. A second later, I heard him shout, "Clara!" I took my sister and entered the house to see her sitting in the living room waiting for us. When she saw me, she got very creepy, little happy expression on her face, and acting as nothing happened. Next to her was a suitcase which I assumed had her stuff in it. I thought she really had the nerve to act like nothing's happened and she's just been on a little vacation. Well, my father told her to take her stuff and leave before he rang the police. But she said that she was back for good and she would never leave us once more. She also said that she was sorry for all that she's done, but it was over now and she was committed to us. My father told her that it did not work like that, and by doing that, she was wasting everyone's time. That was when she started crying crocodile tears, saying that no one's perfect and she also deserves a second chance. I remind her that she lived with a predator who made moves on my sister, but when she found out, she did nothing. She failed us both as a mom and a wife, and she had the nerve to act as if it was no big deal. I was beyond done with her at this point. I left the room to go and call the police to tell them that there was an intruder in the home. In the other room, the shouting was getting increasingly worse, and I could tell that my father was losing his patience. When I came back from calling the police, she was groveling and crying on her knees, and that was truly the most pathetic thing she could have done. It was a little too late for her to be making amends. She also had the nerve to enter our home when we weren't there, breaking in when no one's home. Oh, I hope my father would make her pay very dearly for that. Otherwise, I would. So, the police arrived soon after and they took her away. She looked shocked as to why they were there to get her, but why was she so surprised? She's harassed us for weeks on end, made life difficult for us. Now she's going to be put in a place that she deserved. The neighbors saw her being escorted out, and I already knew that she was going to be the topic of gossip once again. Did she never get tired of always being on people's lips every single day? She never used to be like this, see? My mother has been a nice person who loved my dad and never did anything to embarrass him. This new person that she was showing us these days, something I've never witnessed. Even her family, which used to take her side when she was defaming Dad's character, was quiet these days. Why were they not supporting her and taking her in now? They instead were trying to convince my father that separation was not part of their beliefs. Since when? My dad has helped that family out financially forever, but they turned out to do this right to him. They were very embarrassed about their daughter, but she tried to get her back with my dad in private so they could save their precious reputation. Like I said in my last post, they are the worst kinds of hypocrites, but why am I even surprised since, well, that is her family. My father pressed multiple charges against her, but that was not only the surprise that was in store for her. Her boyfriend, had been involving her in crimes without her acknowledgement, and the investigation has now been concluded. Not only that, but the credit card companies wanted their money back from her, and she could not pay it back because, well, she's broke. That's what she got for depending on my father's hard-earned money and not making any for herself. With that way, it was looking she was facing a couple years for being an accomplice, and unless they found him and maybe she cut a deal with him, she was in so much trouble. She was in jail for a while before she had to appear in court. My dad did not want me to go to the court, but I begged him to go. I wanted to see her being put away for a very long time, and it meant that we would finally have peace at home. So, after school, I would go to a court date a few times a week. She had a long list of charges, and it was not looking very good for her. She seemed to be facing many years in prison if she was found guilty. I think that must have registered with her, but do not worry. She's had something up her sleeve. She said she had an ace, because she always has a plan. I got a call on the house phone when my father was not there, telling me that Clara was injured and that she seemed to be mentally disturbed. My father went to see her, and when he came back, he told me that she's gone completely off the rails and seemed to be having some sort of episode. According to my knowledge, my mother has never been afflicted with any mental health issues, especially a serious one that would cause her to hurt herself. Even Dad said he did not know of her having any mental health issues or a condition, that she was having a psychiatric evaluation. My grandma supported her and publicly claimed that my mom suffered from mental health issues for many years, something that only she seemed to know about. She blamed the divorce and Clara being left by the crook for the state of her mental health. For a moment, just a small moment, I had a bit of doubt and wondered if she'd really been pushed too far after all. She did break into our house, but my mom, she was not a good actor. She was quickly cleared by the psychiatrist, and she did that to get out of her sentencing in a couple days, because she knew that if she used the power she thought she had on my father, he would feel sorry for her and drop the charges. She did not realize that Dad was this fed up with her, and so determined to protect his family that nothing would make him drop those charges, which is what my father told me later. So, even after all the drama she caused, she still had to pay for her crime. She was given a sentence of 12 years, with a chance of parole in a couple. It was the crimes that Richard framed her for that really sealed the deal for her, and it did not help that she also had the breaking and entering as well as harassment cases added on top of that like sprinkles on an ice cream. When she was sentenced, she caused a scene by breaking out in tears and blaming my father, as if he was responsible for the situation she found herself in. She was taken away, and I've not seen her since. I'm not ready to visit her, and I believe I never will be. If I ever forgive her, it'll be oh so many years from now. She's messed with people I care about time and time again, playing with their emotions like it's a video game. Sure, I miss the real mother that I knew, who would put me and my sister above everyone. But she's gone now and never coming back. She's dead. That's the person I will mourn, not Clara. The person who ruined our family, Clara. She's been in prison for a while now. She sent us letters in the beginning, but we requested not to receive them. We need to move on with our lives. Oh yeah, one more thing. My father filed a defamation of character case against her mom and dad, and he won. They had to pay a fine and some money for settlement, or face some months in prison. They chose the first option. I'm glad he did that, so that no one else dares to think my father is a weak man. He's a strong man who has sacrificed so much for my sister and me. He's the one parent, but He has taken on the responsibility of 2, even with this busy job. That is someone I'm very proud to call my father. My sister and I have gone back to a normal routine. My focus is now on finishing my senior year and heading straight to college. I now must work really hard to make sure my average is good enough. It took a huge knock during this whole mess. But for the first time, I feel relieved and hopeful that everything will be okay. Dad's even smiling again. Well guys, it finally looks like this story has come to an end. After 3 long parts, it seems like OP's mother is just never going to be reunited. Let me know what you think though. Do you think that the father should have forgiven her and possibly given her another chance? Or do you think that she deserves to be in prison for a long, long time, guys? Drop your thoughts and feelings about this in the comment section. That was a wild ride between part 1, part 2, and part 3. Man. But now, we're going to look at the second story of the day. Am I the a-hole for uninviting my sister-in-law and mother-in-law from everything, after saying that if my husband continues to pressure me, he'll also be uninvited? I'm 7 months pregnant with my first child. The baby is also the first grandchild/nephew of my husband's family, which everyone's excited about. I lost my mother and father to the pandemic, being an only child, so there's not much of my family left. Since the death of my parents 1 year ago, my husband's family has welcomed me with open arms as a part of them, and I've become very close with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. I always wanted to have a gender reveal, and I trusted my sister-in-law to organize everything about this. With 3 days to go before the party, I started to receive messages from all my husband's relatives, and even close friends congratulating me on my baby being a boy. I went to ask what happened. My sister-in-law confessed that she let it slip to my mother-in-law, and she told everyone the gender of my baby after knowing, because she could not hold it in and took proportions beyond what they imagined. Nobody even called me to tell me about this. The party was canceled, and I was heartbroken as well as extremely hurt by the 2 of them. Usually, they accompanied me to the ultrasound, shopping for the baby room, and my mother-in-law would stay at the time of delivery. But after this breach of trust, I stopped inviting them and asked them to have respect of my boundaries when they pressured me to go. Honestly, I did not even send them the baby shower invite because I really just avoided contact with them as much as possible. Because everyone knew before me that it was a boy. My husband started complaining that I was pushing them away because of a mistake that could have happened, and I was just being harsh. Yesterday, he brought this up, and when I said that I still don't feel comfortable with them, he said, quote, "Oh, soon you'll tell me that my mother won't be able to go to the birth." Well, I think my face showed my response, and he started saying I was being too hard on her because she was just excited and blah blah blah. I had my limit and said, if you keep pushing me, it won't just be your mother who won't be at my labor, so either stop or you won't come. Now he started to say that I'm crossing lines, that he had a right to have this moment. I was taking this too far. He slept on the couch and doesn't talk to me more than necessary. Am I the a-hole? So I found a comment about this story that has a lot of attention. Here it is. This was quoted from the story. My husband started complaining that I was pushing them away because of a mistake that could happen and that I was being harsh. And here's where the comment comes into play. This was not a mistake. This was a choice. Your sister-in-law made a choice and told mother-in-law. Mother-in-law made a choice to tell everyone else in the family. Your husband is making the choice to pressure you into things, which is leaving you to make some choices of your own now. You're allowed to make your own choices. Nobody, not even the husband, has a right to be in the delivery room. The person going through the procedure has the choice of who gets to be in there. Birthing a child is not an all-access pass for everybody else who wants to be there. It's not a spectator sport, it's a medical procedure to get a little human out of another human. Not the a-hole is my firm action, and guys, I want to know what you think of that. Drop your comments down and let me know you are the a-hole or not the a-hole. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow.